Hello, what's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for joining me here this morning on Narcissism 101 Cracking the Code with me, Paul Wisdom. Good morning, everyone. Hoping you guys are having a good Wednesday morning to start your day off. We're going to get into what we're going to talk about today. If you want a one-on-one session, as usual, please email me at paul.wisdom_03@hotmail.com, or you can send a text message to 647-406-3057. If you want to talk, if you want to vent, if you need some help, if you're trying to figure out whether the person you're dealing with is a narcissist or not, I'd be more than happy to give you the help that you need, give you the advice that you need in order to help you out and get you going on your way. So, what we are going to talk about today is narcissists cannot love. And yes, you heard that from me. A narcissist cannot love. That is what we are going to talk about today on this in this video. And to prove that, I have something to prove that, but I'm going to tell that to you closer to the end of the video. In my experience, in my narcissistic experience, I'm going to tell you an experience I have that's going to prove just that. So we're going to get into it, guys. Narcissists cannot love. Imagine this. You're getting to know someone for the first time. You've never met them before. You guys get together, you guys do what normal people, normal human beings do when they don't know someone. They approach them, they talk to them, they're getting to know them, they're asking them questions, about, their family, about their lifestyle, about if they went to school, if they have a lot of friends, how many siblings they have. And you're getting to know them. You're just normally just getting to know them, and everything feels normal because that's what you think. You think that everybody, if you want to get to know someone, then you have a conversation with them, and things like that, and everything's just normal, right? You feel like everything's normal. You get to know them, and maybe you guys go to the same school together, or maybe you don't go to the same school together. Maybe you have some similarities, things in common that you like. Let's say you guys both go to church, or let's say that you guys both like the same type of food. Let's say that you guys are both in the same career. Let's say that you guys just have a lot of things in common and everything's just going great, right? You get to know them, you get their number, they get your number, and things progress. It's like a normal, relationship. You meet somebody and then, things are seemingly going well, right? But then things take an interesting turn. You start to notice something is off, and you start questioning yourself and asking yourself, is it me? Am I the issue? Am I missing something here? You start questioning yourself because the thing is, you've never seen anything like this before. You're asking and you're saying to yourself, maybe I have found my first love. Maybe this person, does love me. Maybe this person completes me. Maybe this is the person I'm going to be spending the rest of my life with. And through all those, texts that the narcissist was sending you, for example, that I love you so much, I miss you when we're not together, I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you. I haven't met somebody, who's so similar to me and shares so much in common with me. I can't wait to see you every day. I think about you and things like this. And you feel like it's normal because you're not used to that, because you've never had, a relationship like that where somebody is saying things to you like that. And so you just keep going along with it. You know what I mean? The days, the minutes and the hours you guys spend together turn into days. Now it turns into months. Now it turns into potentially years. And, perhaps, you guys move in together. Perhaps you guys get married. Perhaps you guys start a business together. Perhaps you guys have you have kids together. Everything just seems very, very normal, right? It seems amazing. It almost seems as though you're in a movie of some sort. You're acting in a movie. It seems as though something just seems too good to be true. And unfortunately, which we're going to talk about today, it is too good to be true. That's why it feels too good to be true, because 9 times out of 10, it is too good to be true. Now, what I'm gonna talk about, in a moment, is why narcissists cannot love, and and I'm gonna share mine, like I said, at the end. But we're gonna talk about this right here. So everything's going well. Perhaps you guys moved in together, you guys get married, you have kids, whatever you decide that you guys want to do in your story. Okay, everything is great, but then unfortunately things start to shift just like that. All of a sudden, you know, the dates, maybe you guys went on dates together. Maybe you guys, went to theater together. That's one thing my ex-wife used to love doing, is going to theater. Wasn't really my jam, but, I went with her to support her, right? Because I was in love and I cared about her, right? Even when no one else was interested in going with her, I went because, I was her husband and I cared about her, and I didn't want to see her, doing these things on her own, because I wanted to make it that I was supporting her, right? So I did those things, right? But let's just say that, you guys, maybe it wasn't theater. Let's say you guys like to go to car shows. Let's say you like to go to the fair. Let's say that you guys like to, cook together. Let's say that you guys like to work out. It could be anything. Let's say that you guys just enjoyed life together. But then, what ended up happening was that everything shifted. Now all of a sudden the good cooking you did, it's not good enough anymore. Or now that you guys, now that everything appears to be good, they no longer want to go out with you anymore. They no longer say I love you. Those I love you texts that you were getting, before, they're nowhere to be found. You're lucky to even get a text, right? And if you get a text, it's usually because they want something from you, right? Maybe they're saying to you, don't forget to rake the leaves outside. Don't forget to, pick up this from the store. Don't forget to cook. Don't forget to bake the cookies and things like that. Don't forget, the kids' programs and things like that. And, they're giving all these demands, and then you're asking yourself the question, what is going on here? Right? Because you guys, everything was good before. You guys did everything together. Everything was great. And now you're trying to figure out what the heck is happening, right? Because it's almost like everything just changed just like that. And you're trying to figure out, is this a trick? Am I being tricked? Am I being deceived? And you're asking yourself those questions because, again, you're not used to this type of a relationship. You've never been in a place like this before. You've never met somebody who, acts this way towards you and expresses this amount of love to you. But now they've all of a sudden changed. And you're trying to figure out, is it because we've been together for so long? Why now they're comfortable? But you don't understand what is happening because you think that they love you as much as you love them. Right? But unfortunately, and what we're going to find out here, is that narcissists do not have the ability to love. Now, narcissists, they love what you provide for them. They love what they can take from you. Right? That's why they got into the relationship with you in the first place. Because the narcissist that you're, dealing with, it could be anyone. It could be, a boyfriend or a girlfriend. It could be your spouse, your husband or your wife. It could be your parents. It could be a sibling. It could be a colleague at work. It could be anyone, right? Narcissists are everywhere, right? But they all play by the same playbook. They all do the exact same things, but they do it differently to different, people, depending on what those people provide for them, right? They could be in a relationship with someone for 20 years or 30 years or 40 years or 50 years. And you're going to ask me, Paul, how's that possible? Well, it's possible because that person has a supply that the narcissist wants to latch onto. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's a place to stay. Maybe that person has access to something that the narcissist enjoys, but that person hasn't figured out that they're a narcissist. Or maybe that person is a narcissist as well. Who knows? But what I'm saying here is that narcissists don't love. They don't have the ability to love the way that you love. You that's watching my video. And if it's your first video, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate, you being on this channel. And I encourage you to watch the videos before, to get more knowledge about narcissism. I'm always learning myself, and I'm always trying to educate people based on my experiences and all the things I've been through as well. No, what we're speaking about here is that, the narcissists, they're doing this for three reasons. They're doing it because they want to cause chaos, right? They want to create chaos, because narcissists can't thrive without chaos. I want to let you guys know that. If there's no chaos, then narcissists can't thrive, right? Because chaos, they love chaos. Think of the narcissist as the devil, Satan, Lucifer himself, right? Lucifer, when he was given everything, and I mentioned this I've been mentioning this quite a bit in my previous videos recently because it's very true. Lucifer in the Bible, he was given everything in the beginning of time. He was on this earth before us human beings were here. right? And so he was given everything. God created him, right? And he was given everything. He was given everything, and he looked beautiful. But what he did, because he was jealous of God, he threw away everything that he had, right? And then he wanted to make it seem as though he was God, right? So it's the same thing with the narcissist, right? Narcissists are ungrateful. There's no way to make them happy. There's no way to make them love you because they cannot love. They don't have the ability to love. They're so empty inside. They're full of nothing, right? Because, and I made a video called Lo Debar, mean place of nothingness. Go watch that video if you're new. But what we're saying here is that the narcissists, they never were in love with you, right? They were just in love with what you provided for them, right? That's why narcissists can end relationships just like that so fast and just move on to someone so quickly. That's why they can, act so disrespectfully to you without any remorse, without even caring about what you think, right? Because narcissists don't care about anybody but themselves. And truth be told, they don't really care about themselves either. That's why they do so much damage to themselves. That's why they're always on the go. That's why they're always doing something. They always need to be doing something, right? Now, I'm not trying to say that every time someone's doing something that they're a narcissist. I'm not trying to say that at all. Because there are many people, believe it or not, people have kids, people have jobs, people always have to be, constantly doing stuff, to make ends meet, to make sure that the kids are taken care of, make sure that there's enough money in the bank. I get that. That's cool. That's great. That's important. But what we're talking about here is narcissists and their need to always be doing something, right? You don't need to be always doing something. If you need to take like a day off, let's say from your job, to take care of the kids or to take care of a sick child or to just take a day off for yourself to enjoy some self-care and things like that, then you do that, right? Then you can do that. But see, narcissists, they don't believe in doing that. They don't believe in peace. They don't believe in taking some time off and enjoying themselves. They believe that they always have to be on the go. Now, the question is, what are they always on the go for? Why are they always on the go? The answer is that they're always on the go because they can't self-reflect. And they don't want to self-reflect, because if they self-reflect, then that means that they have to think about all the many lies that they have told, all the many people that have done this very same thing to you where they made it seem as though they were in love when they really weren't. Because I can tell you right now, they didn't just do it to you. They did it to millions of other people before they got involved with you, right? If it's your parent, I can guarantee you that you're not the only sibling that they treated disrespectfully. They did it to their siblings as well. They did it to their parents as well. They did it to your siblings as well. But the truth is that they did it in such a way that you wouldn't see it. Because narcissists know that if people see too much of them, then people will be able to start putting two and two together and start asking questions. Because when you're unsure of something, usually that's when you start asking questions, right? And narcissists, that's why they get into relationships so fast. That's why there's the love bomb stage, to reel you into them, to get you attached to them so quickly, right? Because they don't want you to have to think. They don't want to have you asking questions about, their upbringing and their life and all that, because they know that at any one time that they can slip. And when I say that they can slip, it means that they can say something that they inside their minds said, oh, I should not have said that, because now that I've said that, it's sort of a giveaway. And now this person is going to get close to figuring out who I am. And I never want to be figured out. And so that's why narcissists are always on the go, because they know that they can't have anybody figuring it out, because it would be too painful for them, right? It's too painful for them to, think for themselves, right? They always need people thinking for them. That's why they have so many supply sources, people to latch onto, people to love bomb into the love bomb stage. That's why they have so many of those people, because they know that at any one time, one of those relationships is going to not work out. Right? Whether the narcissist discards them, or that person who probably doesn't know about narcissism says, this person is really toxic. And then they end the relationship themselves. But what you also need to know, that's why I made a video also called Damned If You Do, Damned If You Don't, is that even if you were to discard the narcissist, which I don't encourage you do at all on my channel, other commentators encourage that, sometimes you should reverse discard them, and I'm totally against it. But let's say that this person discards the narcissist and they break up. The truth of the matter is that the narcissist, believe it or not, the narcissist is actually, still wanting to get something from that person. The narcissist is still spying on them, whether it's through social media, whether it's, the narcissist knows people that they know and starts asking them questions about the person. Narcissists, they don't like letting people go. And usually, most of the time, narcissists are hoarders. They hoard relationships. They have so many people that they talk to at any one time, and then they start and many times they break those relationships eventually, right? Whether it's a relationship of 20 or 30, they don't care, because they know that that not one relationship will never satisfy them. That's why when you're married to the narcissist, that's why they can leave the marriage just like that so effortlessly, because they can't be satisfied. Right? Because they're always looking over their shoulder to see if there's something better over there or something better over there. If you have, let's say, $1 million, let's say you won the lottery, then you have to have $10 million, right? And the narcissist won't be happy with that. Still won't be happy with that. They're going to look for somebody who has $1 billion, right? And that person, that's still not going to make the narcissist happy, because narcissists are also jealous and envious of other people, right? They're jealous of what people have. They believe that they should have what other people have, right? They believe that if you possess a certain trait that they don't, and usually they don't possess the traits you possess, they believe that they should be entitled to take those things from you, right? And that's why they project and they mirror. They project onto you, they project their insecurities onto you, meaning, if you're new to this channel, projection is when the narcissist is telling you, is saying something to you that's meant to be about themselves. So if to throw you off, to gaslight you. So for example, if the narcissist says, you're a cheater, and you're not a cheater, you've never cheated on them before, they're projecting and saying that they are actually the one cheating on you, right? And then what they do is now they mirror you, because they want your empathy. They want who you are. They want to be who you are, right? So that's why they do all these things. And anybody who loves you, unconditionally and cares about you, doesn't need to do things like that, doesn't need to gaslight you, doesn't need to, stonewall you, meaning just end the conversation just like that, just because they disagree with something that you've said, or they disagree with the way that you carry yourself, right? Or anybody who loves you shouldn't be smear campaigning you behind your back. And like I said in many of my other videos, I hate the smear campaign, because I hate to find out that the person, I thought had respect for me and we were in a good relationship, all this time was spreading flat out lies about me to other people whom I knew or didn't even know, right? That hurts, right? And that sucks, right? But unfortunately, narcissists do this all the time. And they do this because not just because they're jealous of you, but they do this because they're protecting their fragile ego, because they know that at some point, they think in their mind at some point that they believe in their mind, that everybody is out to get them, that everybody's doing exactly what they are doing, right? And so they need to do that because they're too scared, right? They're insecure, they're damaged beyond repair. It's almost like a car that's damaged, right? That got into a very bad accident and now it's damaged for good, and no insurance is going to cover it. No amount of fixing it, bringing it to a mechanic to fix it is going to fix it, because it's never going to be the same again. Same thing with the narcissist. The narcissist is damaged beyond repair. They can never be fixed. They cannot love anybody, right? Because they're empty inside. They don't have love within them. All they have is narcissism, is manipulation games, right? Because they love these games. It's what gives them supply. It gives them energy to be able to abuse other people in the same way, right? Because it makes them happy. It gives them pleasure seeing that you're unhappy. It gives them pleasure seeing that you're sad. It gives them pleasure watching you argue with them for hours, even though they know exactly what you're saying, but they want to watch you go crazy arguing what they already know. It gives them happiness watching you get upset, watching you cry, watching you explain yourself for things you should never even be explaining yourself about, right? Narcissists get off on this thing, and sometimes they'll even smirk at you. I'm not a narcissist, so I can't do it. But they smirk at you because it's a way for them to maintain control over you. It's a way for them to, make it seem as though you're the crazy one. That's why they smirk at people. Now, to finish off this video, I'm gonna mention, and I think I've mentioned it in one of my other videos, to prove that narcissists are not able to love. My experience, when my marriage was ending 2 or 3 years ago to my ex-wife, one of the things that she said to me, and I'll never forget this, and you can't forget, and you can't make something like this up. After all the things we did together, after all the things as a guy, as a husband that I did for her, which included, cooking, cleaning, paying all the bills, making sure that, there was enough money in the bank, and doing all this, doing all that, making sure that, I was taking care of her and things like that. At one point in our relationship, we were living long distance. She was living 4 hours away from me. And what I would do is I would actually commute from where I was living all the way to her. And I would do that every weekend for a year. That is until we got married. And then I was thinking, because, that it was going to be reciprocated, right? Because, if you're in a relationship and you love each other, and that you would do the same thing for the other person, right? But it turns out that I was the one always doing the drives and everything like that, and she barely ever did it. And if she did it, it wasn't as much as I did it, right? And it just goes to show, that who was giving more to the relationship than the other. Right. And so, after all those things I did, even going to her, appointments at the doctor, to the hospital, when she had problems with her feet and all this different types of stuff. And, she had health problems, and, I was there for her all the time. Right. I would drop everything I was doing just to be there for her. And, I had faith. I entered into the marriage as a sign of faith that she was going to be who she said she was going to be. Right. And I was hoping, because, she sold a good game to me. Now I know it was a game that she was selling. She sold it to me that, things would get better. And, for a while, it seemed like things were, getting better. Obviously, she wasn't perfect. And, I can't fault her for that. But, I said to myself, in faith, in time, things will get better. But then I found out, that, she never cared. And this is going to be proof here, which is what I'm about to tell you. Close to the end of of the marriage, for 3.5 years I was married to her. One of the things she said to me was, "Paul, I was never in love with you. I can't love." So that should say something. That should say something to some of you guys watching my video today. That narcissists, they don't have the ability to love. After all the things I did for her, and we knew each other for 8 years in total. We dated for 5, engaged for 6 months, and then married for 3.5. If you could hang in there for someone that long, and then after all that time say something like that, "I was never in love with you, I can't love." If somebody can do something like that, then that's just proof that narcissists don't have the ability to love. So I'm just showing you guys this, that now I'm not trying to say that if you experience something like that, drop a comment below and let me know, because narcissists, they all do this stuff. They don't all say this exact thing that my ex-wife said. I'm not trying to say that. What I'm saying is they do things similar. They all work similarly. They all do similar things, but they all do it differently to different people, again, depending on what those people provide for them, right? And so this just goes to show that narcissists, they cannot love anybody. Right? They do it. They want to destroy people. And she thought, in another way, she tried to twist the knife in me deeper and tried to, hope that I wouldn't make it. One other thing she did that I want to mention here was this. I remember when, I was going about my day and whatnot, and then out of nowhere, she said something to the effect of, "Paul, I need to talk to you." I was like, "Yeah, okay, what's up? And then we sat down on the couch in the living room. And then we talked, and then we sat down. I was like, "Yeah, so go ahead. What do you want to tell me?" And then she said, "I got in touch with one of my exes, And I was like, oh, you got in touch with one of your exes. Okay. And then I was like, what happened there? And then she said, I needed closure. I was like, oh, closure. Closure. And I was like, okay, did you get the closure? And then her response was, and then she started, crying the fake crocodile tears that all narcissists do and whatever and whatever. She started crying the fake tears, and then I was sitting there, and then she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, okay. So then the only thing I could say after that was, so where do we go from here? And then her response, she turns and looks at me and she says, I don't think this is gonna work out anymore. And then I tried to talk to her and just say, hey, I think that you've had a tough couple of days at work and things, and I'm not sure what's been happening to you. And I think that if we, talk more about it, then we can, get you, the help that you need. But back then, I didn't know what I knew. I didn't know that I was dealing with somebody who wasn't capable of loving. I didn't know that somebody could, flat out just do something like that to somebody, right? To say that to someone, right? But unfortunately, guys, this is what narcissists do to people, right? And they do this because they don't want to build. They want to destroy people's lives. And they have disdain for people. They hate, and I made a video on narcissists have disdain for everyone. Go watch that video if you're new to my channel. But narcissists, these are some of the things that they do, right? And I'm still shocked to this day that I made it, right? That I'm still here and I'm still able to teach you guys and get you guys educated. Because after going through something like that, that can that can take a lot on somebody, right? So, I'm just grateful that I'm still here, being able to pay it forward and being able to educate people like you guys who support my channel. Thank you so much for being here. I think I'm at 118 videos now. Wow, that's a good thing. But anyways, that's what I wanted to talk to you guys today about. Narcissism 101, cracking the code with me, Paul Wisdom. Thank you so much for joining me here. I encourage you to like, subscribe, share it with somebody who you think could use the knowledge. Share it with somebody who you think needs help, because in fact, you would be helping out somebody who doesn't even know they need help. Like I said, if you want a one-on-one session, please email me at paul.wisdom_03@hotmail.com or send a text message to 647-406-3057. If you want to call, just send a text to that number and just let me know that it's you and you want to talk about your experience, just so that I know it's you, because if it isn't, then I might just block the number, just because, if I don't know who it is, then, and that person doesn't leave a message, then I just won't be able to answer, right? So that's how it is. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for being here. And I hope to see you guys on the next video. Thank you so much.